Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Isabella Mori. I'm the founder of Muriel's Journey Poetry Prize. I'm coming to you as a guest at the ancestral, traditional, and unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and I'm grateful for the stewardship they have given to this land for thousands of years. I sincerely hope that we can learn from them and really fast how to honor planet Earth. Word Vancouver would like to take a moment to thank our generous donors and sponsors. Please check out our sponsor page. We want to once again thank all of our sponsors who support Word and help us to keep the festival free, which is really amazing. Remember, you can support the festival by becoming a member. I think it's only $10, and through our silent auction at wordvancouver.ca. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, we will not be able to see you, but if you want to show your appreciation or want to make a comment, please type it into the comment section. Is there anything, a quick question to our tech person who is so generously supporting us? Any comments about making comments in YouTube? No? Okay. Okay, so we will start with a land acknowledgement that was actually done by our patron saint, Muriel Marjorie. So there's a...
So I'm doing this as I received a grant through the Vancouver Foundation, and so this is my celebration, and I'm doing poetry and photography. So the photography is mine, and the rest is another exhibit. And tonight I want, and at the front, that's right. And Muriel, who's also a poet, will do a welcome because we're on, come up here, Muriel is a fellow writer, so go ahead.
Okay, is there anybody here from the Coast Salish Nations? Okay, I'm not Coast Salish, though 2 Coast Salish sisters spotted 2 of my brothers, and woo, now I have relatives.
All right.
So, my mother is from the Gitxsan Nation, which is by the Hazeltons, if you're looking on the map. And my dad was conceived in England, made in England, born in Canada, Friday the 13th. And my mom, we're matrilineal, so my heritage comes from my mother. And the Fireweed clan, and then there's a sub-clan, which is the Whale clan. And then there's a clan that's part of that, which is the Owl clan. So that is what I'm from. So some people, if you're of a different First Nations, it's like always. So just to let you know, Friday the 13th and the Owl clan. And so I would like to thank the First Nations people on whose territory we are on, who the Creator gave, and all the Creator's wisdom and all the Creator's heart. This unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, the Squamish, Capilano, and Tsleil-Waututh, because the Musqueam are over there. And we give thanks to them because even though I am First Nations, I am not of this nation. And so I too am a visitor here, and I'm very grateful. Good to see you all here too. And look, my friend, I met her over here too. Yay!
Yeah, isn't it lovely to see Muriel? She was such an amazing actor. So this is the 5th year of Muriel's Journey Poetry Prize, and that's really, really exciting. For those of you who are new to this, let me tell you a little bit about the prize. Muriel Marjorie was a social justice activist, a poet, and a spoken word artist of Indigenous heritage, as she just explained, who spent a lot of time in the Downtown Eastside. In her work, she always explored new ways of expressing herself, always talked and wrote about what's urgent and important. And her energy really was like fireworks, and her hugs legendary. Muriel died in November of 2018. At Muriel's memorial at the Downtown Eastside's listening post, someone quoted Muriel from her last days when she said that while she was leaving, she was still continuing her journey. They also held up a picture of the sunrise on the day she died, and I was so moved by this to do my part in Muriel's continued journey and decided to start a poetry prize in Muriel's honor. And when I shared this idea with a few other people at the memorial, their response was very enthusiastic, and it still is. It's Ward Vancouver was very enthusiastic and is enthusiastic in continuing this with us. So it's Heart of the City. Everyone liked Muriel. She encouraged creative people of all stripes to continue on their path of creativity and social justice. And with Muriel's Journey Poetry Prize, we hope to pass on inspiration and strength to all who create with a sense of justice in mind. Because Muriel always did things a little differently, we're doing this poetry prize a little differently too, or quite differently. One thing that we were keenly aware of is how subjective the judging of poetry can be. We had wonderful judges. And having been a judge myself, I know how influenced I am by my own kind of choices and my own predilections and preferences. So we decided to give a prize to a poet randomly selected, and we call it Fortuna's Choice. Fortuna has made exceptional choices so far. So we're very happy to have her as a judge. Another change is our entry fee, which consists of people showing how they contribute to their community. And finally, we have two first prizes, a general one and one for a poet who has important connections with Vancouver's Downtown Eastside. The prize is open to all people living in Canada as well as to Canadians living abroad. I'm handing over the mic to Heidi Greco now, who is our MC for today. But before I do that, I want to thank a few people. First of all, Kyle, who is my co-conspirator and who puts together our beautiful chapbooks. Then we had the judges. Heidi Greco was one of them. Candy Tanaka was another one, and Roberta Georgeson. Do I have the right first name? I always mix up her first name. Were our judges this time. And we also had, this time we had first readers, Catherine Garrett and Sally Kwan. And finally, I want to thank my daughter Tova, who did all the wonderful admin work that is necessary for something like this. So, over to Heidi. Who is Heidi? Although Heidi Greco writes in many genres, poetry remains her first love, and the list of her publications reflects that. She enjoys foraging, whether for mushrooms and berries, or for a new line of poetry. She also likes the tradition of making big Sunday suppers and having her adult sons over to share these. A longtime resident of Surrey, Heidi and her partner live in a house that's mostly surrounded by trees. In 2017, she was honored by the City of Surrey by being officially proclaimed as one of their civic treasures. Heidi, civic treasure, over to you.
Well, thank you, Isabella. My goodness, you padded my biography a little bit. Very, very kind of you. We've already had some land acknowledgements, but I need to acknowledge that today's ceremony, this award ceremony, takes place on many unceded lands, which each author has acknowledged in their biographies. Today, I'm on Vancouver Island territory of Snunawis people, I usually live on lands of the Semiahmoo Nation. We must also acknowledge the many sponsors who support Word Vancouver. They include, and this is a long list, the Canada Council for the Arts, the Canada Heritage Fund, BC Gaming, Creative BC, the City of Vancouver, DBVIA, the Hamber Foundation, the Joseph Wask Foundation, the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop, Quill, Pace and Associates, the Federation of BC Writers, the League of Canadian Poets, the Writers Union of Canada, the Surrey Public Library, and the Vancouver Public Library. For a full list of the partners, please visit the website, wordvancouver.ca. And if you haven't already, please consider becoming a member, making a donation in some other way. And don't forget to look at that silent auction. There are lots of great things there. I would like to introduce, first of all, the three poets who have won honorable mentions. And we will begin with the first one, who is Angie Conrad. Angie acknowledges that she lives on the traditional territory of the Kainai Nation, the Piikani Nation, and the Siksika Nation in southern Alberta, as well as the Blackfeet tribe of northern Montana. She and her husband, they're a family with 2 homes. They live part-time on Salt Spring Island and part-time on the Alberta prairies. She loves helping people on quests as they seek out their ancestors and their living relatives. Angie, please read your poem.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Oki. This is the Blackfoot word for hello, and it's the official hello in Lethbridge, Alberta. Big fish, pink salmon. Sunset drew my eyes high above the houses to big fish. The washboard of gray scales in the west wrapped around the salmon-bodied sky. The biggest fish I ever saw. Could have fed all of Turtle Island. 8,000 gallons of chlorinated water held tight in a circle of plastic and metal, perched on my assigned 0.08 acres of tax city property. My back against the wet and my hungry eyes upwards. 8,000 gallons of stagnant water, chlorinated to keep it fresh, undrinkable, and I thirst. I watch the salmon as I begin my laps. 1, 2, 3. Lap 4 and the salmon is strong. The wind speaks to the east, pushing the colors out of shape. Lap 5, scales stretch. Lap 6, gray and pink swirl together, cotton candy, and no more salmon in the sky and none in the stream. But I bought one at Superstore. It was in its own tin can with a picture and words to tell me its name. Lap 7, the sky is changing faster than I can swim. 33 laps to go. The wind is stronger and faster than my rhythmic limbs. Big fish torn apart, not sharing, leaving my spirit and stomach empty. I close my eyes. The sound clipped to my ears drowns out the death in the sky. 39, 40. Dripping wet and city clean, the water droplets from my hair bathe my kitchen floor. The can opener tears the metal to release pink salmon.
Thank you so much. It seems appropriate that I should be here on a street called Blueback after hearing a poem about salmon. So ironic. The next reader will be Chantal Spicer. Weaving together poetics, land-based teachings, research, and self-reflective practices, Chantal is doing the hard work of reconnecting to their own teachings and family, who, due to anti-Semitism and colonialism, they've been disconnected from. While not writing, she's part of many social movements at the intersections of Indigenous rights, climate justice, and abolition. Chantal is a person of strong opinions and believes that these lands where she works should be under the jurisdiction of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations, but due to structures of oppression that target Indigenous women and Two-Spirit people are currently claimed by Vancouver and Canada. Chantal, please share your poem with us.
Hi, Chica. A quick note on this poem before I read. This note appears as a footnote to the poem in the chapbook. So this poem came from a workshop with Rita Wong in the spring of 2022, where there was a hesitant invitation to create a poem based on listening with the land. As Rita had explained, this hesitantly is offered because interpreting lessons and voices of stolen Coast Salish territories is a political and quite privileged act. And this is something that I had struggled with in my own teachings of sitting, watching, and listening, which were a gift from Colt Shemet, Ray Peter of Cowichan Nation during my undergraduate degree. However, when I had expressed this concern to him of listening to the land of his ancestors, he explained to me that learning how to listen to and with the land is an important part of learning how to be a guest here. So this is the poem, A Tender Attention. Rita reads a poem, and the land lifts its many voices alongside. Let me be free, 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 chickadee, dee, dee. Nourishment can come in small bites. Blackberry begins to set. And cleanse, wish, sense, water runs joyfully over the rocks. Unfurl yourself. Sword fern rises and opens. Shh. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 leaves. Your body can be a home. Cedar spreads her branches. Glow where the sun touches you. Spring leaves of salmonberry carry light, and you change in relation. Stones along the creek bed transform. A symphony of poems.
Thank you. Symphony is such a great word to use in that final line because there are so many great sounds, musical sounds in that poem. And I always love the way that chickadee is the bird that says its own name. Chickadee, dee, dee. Thank you. The next person who won an honorable mention is George Connell. He lives on Seashell land on the Sunshine Coast. One of the many things he does to benefit his community is to offer a $500 award every year to a high school graduate who shows interest in or proclivity towards the arts. Because George cannot join us today, he is participating in a 50K run, a feat I sound amazing. Kyle Hawke, creator of our fabulous chapbook, will read George's poem. Kyle?
On George's behalf, this is Firefly in a Jar. One child at the sitters and one more on the way. One more shot of coffee to get her through the day. No one to help her make it through, he left her long ago. And every night she wished she had the power. Just say no. It wasn't meant to be this way. She should have been a star, a twinkle in the firmament, a firefly in a jar. She should have left this one-horse town while she still had the chance. But vows of mediocrity kept her from the dance. Now she tends the checkout in the village grocery store. Years fly by like windswept skies. She wanted so much more. One more night at home, alone before the television. Celebrities reminding her each night of what could have been. It wasn't meant to be this way. She should have been a star, a twinkle in the firmament, a firefly in a jar. She should have left this one-horse town while she still had the chance. But vows of mediocrity kept her in a trance. The cats are fed, the dishes washed, the laundry put away. She gazes through a magazine to dream of holidays. She shuts the door, turns out the lights. The key turns in the latch. Tomorrow is another day, and she has dreams to catch. But she could have been somebody. She could have been a star, a twinkle in the firmament, a firefly in the jar.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm sure that George would be very pleased to know that you read his poem so thoughtfully and carefully. And I must admit that I am not capable of writing a poem with that kind of cadence and rhyme that actually comes off as meaning something powerful. The next poet who won honorable mention and second prize is Leah Bobbitt. Her poetry has been published widely, most recently in Prairie Fire, Cantheus, and Reckoning, in an issue devoted to writings on environmental justice and special reproductive rights, a publication that's forthcoming in Strange Horizons. Her most recent novel, An Inheritance of Ashes, published by Scholastic Canada and Clarion Books in the US, received the Aurora, Sunburst, and Copper Cylinder Awards in 2016. She lives in the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabeg, Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, Métis, and Wendat peoples. In her neighborhood, she helps organize a mutual aid network to get hot, home-cooked meals, menstrual supplies, and warm clothes to neighbors who need support, whether in encampments or outside them. Powerful work, Leah. Please read your poem.
Hi there. So this is quite short. The piece is called What Mama Says. Don't make my mistakes. My mistakes are mine. I only made them to take them away from you. Thank you.
Oh gosh, I think all mothers probably try to do better by their children, and clearly yours did too. Our next reader, second prize winner, some cash there, Christy Watson. She currently creates on the lands of the Tsuut'ina people and is an award-winning author of 8 novels for middle grade and YA readers. Orca Book Publishers and Formac Lorimer publishers, as well as having her poetry included in many anthologies, including Worth More Standing from Caitlin Press, Contemporary Verse 2, and the Poetry Marathon Anthology, which she's participated in since 2017 through the present. I think she edits for them as well. She won honorable mention in the first Coffee Shop Author Contest, which was sponsored by Ulakan Press, and has volunteered for over a decade at the Surrey International Writers Conference, more recently with the BC Federation of Writers. Prior to the pandemic, she hosted an open mic in South Surrey, British Columbia. Christy, are you ready to read?
I am. So I'd like to start just by saying thank you for this wonderful opportunity and to thank Isabella and Kyle and the Muriel's Journey Poetry Prize team, and of course the legacy that is Muriel. Thanks also, Heidi, for your wonderful hosting this afternoon, and to all the team at Word Vancouver. Your support is also much appreciated. So my poem is called The Orange Door. We meet at the intersection of East 3rd and Lonsdale. Sidle across Burrard Inlet, 15 minutes on the spurning waves, less arduous than ship crossings in the 1880s. Slip off the main streets of West Hastings and Homer on our quest for Saturday night revels, past Carroll, where east meets west in the derelict and starless alleyways off Pender, where 2 shadows huddle in the shadows, a transgression between them. I'm the 5th wheel in our evening shenanigans. To the orange door, which is just that. We knit brown bags into crooks in our arms, blink in the gloom stashed bottles of rum and vodka like it's 1905 and the saloons are being shut down again. Spot two policemen at a table near the back of the room. Finished with their plates, they nod our way, tip their caps and the server before heading back onto the paths of night, their purview, transgressions, and shenanigans. We mix our hidden liquor with Coke and 7-Up, laugh and wonder at this relic, aromas of ginger, star anise, and fragrant plum. Rely on history class knowledge of railway ties. See men at other table, creased faces, dark eyes, hunched over, pondering us. Feelings pop like fizz in my drink, so I head to the washroom, take a wrong turn, suddenly looking down into a smoke-filled nook where several men sit, stilled, the slouch of history bending their backs. Silence, but for the tick of mahjong tiles, they all turn to stare. Apologetic, I return to the restaurant, bursting with patrons and piles of steaming food heaped on hot plates. We devour ours like ravenous scavengers. Pay the bargain bill, waft back onto the street where apparitions from the past still wander the night air. Make our way beyond the abandoned Shaw Theatre, ahead of its time even back then, and further up the street, cross the intersection out of Chinatown to Gastown's Blarney Stone, and a line where midnight revelers wait for their turn at a table in Vancouver's hustling nightlife. Later, the moon sighs as we board our way out of the city port for shores to the north. A horn sounds, and in the ship's wake, thousands of ghosts hover, listening for the $1-a-day clank of the last spike, straight through to the heart of Chinatown, rivaled only by the dragon's roar. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you. You took me right back there, not quite to 1905, but the bargain bill. I remember going there a long time ago and was so impressed because a bowl of rice was 10 cents and a cup of tea was free. So basically, you could eat for a dime. Quite a while ago. Thank you for taking me back there. Now, this next award is a special one, and Isabella referred to it at the beginning when she brought our introduction. It's called Fortuna's Choice, and Morningstar Leon is the poet who won this. But first, to explain the significance and the process for this particular award, I'd like to go back to Isabella, who we must remember, she and Kyle are the primary reasons that this contest celebrating Muriel's journey exists. Isabella?
Yes. The reason why this happened, or how I mean, this was like over 5 years ago, but I had this image of Muriel kind of going like, yeah, first and second prize. Who chooses that? You know, why do you think you're the one who choose that? You know, that kind of thing. The people who knew Muriel can probably imagine exactly her body language and her tone of voice. And so so we came up with this idea of a prize that is randomly chosen, but from the poems that you know fulfill our general requirements. But the strange and wonderful thing is that each time Fortuna has chosen a poem, Fortuna just really, as I said, like has such excellent taste. And So, and it feels like, it's another judge, and maybe it's even Muriel's spirit coming through, and Muriel's spirit comes through all of this here. So maybe it's kind of Muriel reaching into the hat and going like, this one. So I'm just incredibly grateful that that Fortuna has thrown that into our lap and given us this mysterious and wonderful and exciting prize.
For that beautiful explanation. I don't know if your birthday is during Libra, but you certainly have such a wonderful sense of justice, Isabella. I'm sure that Muriel is pleased, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if she sticks her hand in to make the choice, because I agree with you. She certainly makes good choices. And we'll hear an example of that great choice from Morningstar. Morningstar Leon attends and leads Zoom meetings for several international organizations. She has participated in ceremonies for the missing children of residential schools and written letters to politicians and religious leaders requesting reparations. She used to work for a Peace Research Institute in Dundas, Ontario, and has worked as a residential attendant in alcohol and drug rehab in the Yukon. She's proud to live on the traditional lands of the Kwanlin First Nation. Morningstar, please read your winning poem.
Thank you, Heidi, and Isabella, and Kyle, and everyone who's put this together and made it possible today. Under glass. The place was sold intact, with its furniture, tools, dishes, boat. She'd taken the clothes out. Her stepmother's, furred with 7 years' dust, went to the dump. Her father's, newer, to the men's shelter. The glass-topped pine box with a stretched, straight-out snake skeleton her stepmother had found, and the pictures on the walls and tables, mostly of the dogs and the one cat, and the albums where she did not find the one picture she wanted. All this thrown out. She thought then it might be in the boathouse. The boat bays were empty, the Chris Craft long sold. Her father's knees could no longer bend enough to get in and out. She could see the tin fish tied to the dock through the cobwebs that draped the window over the workbench. Resting on the rafters, the canoe, its paddles, a toboggan. Under the window, a cluster of dead shadflies, like crumpled tissue paper. Lured by light, they'd battered themselves to death against the window. A glass front case on the wall protected the trout flies he'd wrapped and woven when she was little. Tools, hammers, corded drill, combination wrench set, channel lock pliers and vice grips, screwdrivers, a chainsaw so long unused it would no longer start. And a scissor. Is that what you call it? One half of a broken pair? The other lost or thrown out. Heaven knows what he'd used it for. Cutting bait, maybe? Half a dozen 40-year-old snapshots curling, tacked to the wall, the one of her father nose to nose in the river with the German shepherd they'd had when she was in high school. 2 or 3 of boats, with or without fishermen. And the prize. Her brother, freckled, 11 years old, holding up a foot-long grass pickerel. That's about as big as a grass pickerel gets, and as happy as he got in his life. She felt some live wriggling in her gorge like a worm or a minnow on a hook, trolled by the thing that had trolled for her father, trapped him in hopelessness and helplessness and bottles of scotch. It seemed to come with her brother's epilepsy and dyslexia, his failures in school and juvie jail and life. His only son, not the son he'd wanted, Not a son you could grow old with. Still fishing, handing you in and out of the boat when your knees didn't work anymore. That fearsome, luring thing with its underslung jaw and scything teeth like northern pike took her brother. He hung himself from one of those rafters. And the old man, half of a broken pear, the other lost, his heart torn out, sank and sank and sank into the bottom of his bottles, battered himself to death against them. Masicho.
That is so powerful. It's a film. It's so visual. And I love the fabulous detail asking about, is a scissor half of what a pair of scissors is? And then using that image for the father and his son. I thank you very much and congratulate you on your poem. And I thank Fortuna and Muriel for choosing that for us to hear today. The next reader is a person who has won not only first prize, but the Downtown Eastside Award. And I can't think of anybody who makes me think of the Downtown Eastside more than Gilles Seren. He lives on the ancestral unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people. He coordinates the Downtown Eastside Writers Collective, serves as president of the Carnegie Community Center Association, and is a mentor for the UBC Humanities Writing 101 program and for the UBC Science 101 program, both of which provide a series of free lectures for Downtown Eastside and Downtown Southside residents. He has published one book of poetry and is working on a second, which I'm looking forward to. Gilles, please read your winning poem. Mute, mute, mute.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Heidi, and thanks Isabella and Kyle, and thanks you for trying to work with me. I was frustrated trying to get onto this website, but I finally managed it. So I'm really, really happy that I was able to get here. This is called Oppenheimer Park Move. A crow eats a dead rat. City crews shoveled tents, shopping carts, suitcases, sleeping bags, blankets, buckets, mattresses, bicycles, wheels, frames, chairs, cushions, rugs, tarps, rags, flotsam and jetsam from unhoused lives into dump trucks. A woman obstructs, grabs her backpack from a worker. It's handcuffs until she settles down. The police let her go. She agrees to be quick, gathers possessions from her tent, her home, as the crew prepares to tear it down. 10 minutes notice for tent city residents. What to sort, what to pack, what to move, what to take, what to leave, when equipment sum total is a shopping cart. Already you basically got nothing. After this, you'll have even less. What's next when what remains is a foamy, a sleeping bag, 2 pop crates, and a couple of blankets on a piece of sidewalk? Her bedroom, bare concrete, all she owns, clothes on her back, and a few coins in a paper cup. A rat runs into a dry hole in dirt under tree roots for shelter from the storm. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Gilles. It's so important that we as poets bear witness to the wrongs that we see in the world. And I have walked those streets, Hastings Street, and seen the City of Vancouver workers clearing away what they've been told to clear away. It's such a difficult time we live in. Thank you, Jill. The first prize winner is also a person who is concerned with the unhoused. She won first prize in Muriel's Journey contest, Danielle Elza. She lived on 3 continents before immigrating to Canada in 1999. Her latest poetry collections are The Broken Boat, 2020, and Slow Erosions, also 2020. Her work has won numerous contests and has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net Anthology multiple times. She placed second in the 2022 Ken Belford Poetry Prize for Social Justice. She is a founding member of the Place Mattering Matters Collective and advocates for affordable housing in her community in Vancouver, located on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Daniela, please read your poem.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Isabella. Thank you to all the readers up to this point. I am deeply touched with this work, and I'm honored and humbled to be included in this contest and in this group of social activists. I do come originally from a place where the revolutionaries were poets and the poets were revolutionaries. And so that is how I knew poetry. And I knew that you could die for your words when you write them. I also come from a place that's been constantly under occupation, 500 years under Turkish yoke. So the people I come from have been constantly battling and struggling and fighting the occupations that they've had to endure. I am tuning in from the unceded and stolen territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And this territory has been exploited and put towards generating wealth for very few for at least 140 years, and has been exploited at a rate and ratio that is not in favor for the citizens and that call this place home. And I predominantly got involved in my community a few years ago, and I found that it was very difficult to read and to learn and to find out how we have solutions, but we don't apply them. And so the poetry was a way out. It's funny, it's harsh to write it, but it was my peace of mind and some kind of sanity space. And so some of the poems you will hear today, they either come from lived experience, or they, if I call them found poem, they come from something I have read or someone has shared. And because I think they're words way more than my words in that case, and from history and facts from articles and journalism. So that's how these poems come together. It's going to be a whole book. And today I'm going to read the ones that were selected for this contest. Oh, before that, I want to read you 3 things, starting with 1888. These are just little things I came across just to show you when I say 140 years, I'm talking really this exploitation is brutal. In 1888, under the second mayor of Vancouver, Mr. Oppenheimer, he was also the head of the Board of Trade and the largest private landowner. The speculation frenzy resulted at that time in 85% of the land owned by 130 people only, and the remaining 15% that was left was divided amongst the rest of its 10,000 inhabitants. You can see the proportions are playing out today in our 80% market housing and maybe some kind of, as little as they can get away with, 15, it was 10 before barely, non-market or affordable housing. In 1938, Alderman Helena Guttridge wrote, "Housing is becoming a social necessity of proportions which must be recognized as citywide in their scope. When private enterprise cannot build homes at an economic rental, It then becomes the responsibility of the community to provide such shelter for the wage earners in the lower income brackets. And I'm going to go to 1975 in a book written by Donald Gustein called Vancouver Limited. He says, and I'm reading this now, "We are in the midst of our worst housing crisis ever." And so what I'm trying to say is that this is a very familiar problem, and Vancouver somehow and the powers that be are refusing to address it because it can be addressed. And I come from an area that in the 1960s did address it a little bit by building co-ops on Falls Creek South, where I currently live in one of those co-ops. And we now are in danger of losing our homes because the city has bigger ideas for large-scale redevelopment of the area. Thank you for letting me read these facts, because I was cut off at City Hall when I was trying to give them some historic perspective, and I couldn't say it. So I'm going to read my poem. I knew here I would not be cut off. Adversity. And adversity here is adver/city. Adversity. 2023. Today, the present tense hurts. The police are sweeping the streets in a downtown tranquilized with neglect. It's your fault you're homeless. Cuts any way you think of it, no matter the century. The soul here dies a slow death from multiple paper-pushing cuts. We toe the poverty line, work on reminding our city the facts. But they can afford to sustain amnesia on 6-digit salaries, a narrative without regret. It is not your fault you're homeless. I keep repeating to myself, as if I too might forget. 2020 found poem. The park was mostly empty of people when the bulldozing began. My son's ashes were in that tent, said Kim, leaving Oppenheimer Park, Tent City. And my mom's. Everything ended up in the dumpster. Kim will miss this place. People here were always laughing and drinking, partying and fighting. We all worked together to make sure everyone was taken care of. It's like having cable TV right outside your tent, she said. Everyone had 2 weeks to vacate or face arrests. 2022. We can outlast you, says the developer. Fiddle with the meaning of public space, replace history with bafflegab. We will torture you by obfuscation, stifle the commons, the sacred ground, turn them into condos. We will erase you, empty you of memory, of heritage in the tumbler of endless orange cone construction zones. The devil is in the details you will not have. 2, the language of rubble you don't have enough lifetimes to wade through. 3, the consequences you will pay for once we're done and long gone. 2023. Time is fast forwarding into haves and have-nots. The police are pushing and shoving, press a face into the asphalt, get busy handcuffing. We spin in a deadly whirlwind no weather channel is willing to report, pushing and shoving the pain, reshuffling a history too hard to face. A face facing the asphalt is too busy facing the asphalt. Thank you.
Gosh, I'm really glad that we didn't cut you off. Strong words, Daniela. And I love that you added those facts for us. Especially gratifying to hear that Helena Guttridge said the things that she said about housing. She was the first woman councillor in Vancouver City history. At this point, I am needing to express much gratitude. My first gratitude goes to Tim and Adam, our brilliant and patient tech guides who help me and all of us with dealing with technological challenges that we sometimes grumble about, but really what a miracle to all be together from so many places. I need to thank Kyle for reading George's poem today and for producing the beautiful chapbook with all the tender, loving care that he puts into it. And of course, I need to thank Isabella Mori. Without her, and Kyle's backup help, but without her imagining the importance of keeping Muriel's journey alive, we wouldn't be here with this contest today. Of course, I need to thank Word Vancouver and all the sponsors, and who knows, maybe our little chapbook will be available at 32 Books, the official bookseller. And overall, and over abiding, I must thank Muriel Marjorie, who inspired us to carry on with this, her journey. Megwich, Masi, thank you.